Good afternoon, people. First day of winter. Oh, yippee. Actually, we had a absolutely stellar day yesterday. It was hot right up until, well, very late in the evening, so yay. But now, it looks like it wants to rain. Well, feels like it. Okay, so what do we got out here? Well, a mess, yes. Oh, yeah, I meant to do that, tidy that up. I'm in the throes of cutting down all of this. If you'd seen the previous video, you would have heard me going on endlessly about these components and the number of shelves that I need. Holy moly. But if I swing around, you think that's messy. Well, this is my mitre station storage surface. That's what the surfaces get used for sometimes, don't they? Anyway, I thought I would try and watch some videos to make me look a little bit more informed and educated in the ways of using a mitre saw when I come out to make my videos. Rather than being a bit of a muppet and an idiot when I just do it freehand sort of thing, or freestyle. Freehand. Stupid. Anyway, what I'm wanting to do with the mitre saw, tidy it up, is to make half laps for a project that you can just see across, in the background there, that have the requirement of those half laps at specific spaces. As you can see through the dirty window, it's called Nature's Blinds, dirt that is. The spacing is, well, it's going to vary, but it'll be about 400 to 500, whatever measurement I decide. I need to make rails that have got a half lap in them that, well, I want them to be done, a bit like a box joint or a finger joint. I want to be able to make them at specific and repeatable distances. I had made up a sliding mechanism for a router, and I found that to be the biggest pain in the butt that you could ever come across. And a couple of times, the timber, just the way I was using it, well, didn't work too well. I then, strangely enough, thought, well, what do you normally cut timber with? And that's, well, a saw. What about a mitre saw? Yes, so I used this mitre saw to cut all those half laps, and it's not that is itself a problem, it's just that the sheer number of them is actually deceptive, and of course, like I said, I want to be able to cut them at specific distances. So I'm going to have to come up with a little jig, oh surprise, surprise that I make jigs, that allows me to make those cuts, and it is tunable. Now that I've got a MFT style of top, not that you can really see it here, but I've got that on the table, is there a way of making use of that for getting the positions for each of the laps, the half lap, the cuts? And the answer to that is, I hope so. The idea being is that, like these, I should have really prepared this earlier, but like these pieces here, I can put them in different positions in this case, 50 millimeter spacings. I could get it down to 25 millimeter increments rather. So I can come across X number of holes and insert this back into the hole. Now, what if I have a registration pin on this item, or the equivalent item that's going to be used for that, step it across, and then when I make my very first cut, that then registers onto whatever pin I have got this all set up for, and I can make the next cut. That to me has got a lot of appeal. The beauty of this setup, I'm going to say deliberate, but probably more accurate to saying as a consequence of this type of construction and setup, I can make my fence, the adjustable, movable part that's required to have the pin, in exact alignment with the fence of the top itself, this white one here, or 50 mils forward or whatever amount forward, because you do have to allow the saw to run past, the very bottom of the radius of or circumference of the saw. It's got to run past the back of the timber, otherwise you get that little scallopy thing. If you've watched the videos, if you've done it yourself, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you don't, you're going to find out when I do these things and make a video. So set up a little jig. I've actually got one floating around somewhere that was for this very purpose. Now, where is that? If having said that, where did I put it? Come on, where did I put it? In fact, it's been one of those jigs that has been floating around for so long, it was driving me spare. And now that I've specifically looking for it, can't find the darn thing. Oh well, it's around. Oh, there it is. In fact, one of the half-lap thingies is right there. The reason I made up the jig was for me to be able to put my timbers in it away from the back, like I was saying. In fact, is this the one? Doesn't actually ring a bell, that one. Oh, no, I'm pretty certain that's it. Using that sort of, no, I'm not going to use that as an example. That's not going to suit me. But anyway, gee whiz. Hang on, oh God. Imagine that. You've got to have a good imagination when you're dealing with me. Imagine that's the pin that's located on this movable piece here that I can just, gee whiz, I certainly didn't prepare this earlier, that I can slot that in there and I can do the next cut, move it across, etc. The bit that caught me many times, and it was just through sheer, bloody mindedness that I got it, I kept on forgetting that you've got to allow for your thickness of your saw in how you cut these half laps. And I was coming up with all intricate and involved methods, and I thought, there's got to be an easier way. Come on, David. It's not that complicated. You've seen videos of people doing almost the same thing. Get your act together. Well, many months later, I'm getting back into, when I've tidied up the workshop, getting back into doing these items. And I wanted to be able to do this in the next couple of weeks, to do this sort of work again. And I thought, while I'm working on the jigs, etc., for the mitre station and the MFT top, I might as well accommodate the requirements here for doing these half laps. Not only are they for that sort of thing where you've got multiple half laps in one piece, but also these sorts of things. So it's going to be used in more than one thing. Why am I worrying about that instead of worrying about that? Good question. I've got no half-pie decent answer to give you, and it may well be that it's just a distraction from me worrying about this at the moment. But I am coming out here in the next 10 or 15 minutes to actually carry on with that. But I was sitting there loading some video to YouTube for your amusement and titillation, looking at me being how silly I am. And I came across one video that I thought, oh, that relates to this. And so I chased it down. I looked at a couple of other people's videos, how they make finger joints or box joints. And none of them actually suited my requirements in the manner that I'm trying to outline here. Yes, but no. Because I've got this MFT style of top, and that's where I was going with some of the ideas on the videos I'm loading. It's right at the very beginning of me creating the MFT top and getting the components to work in the manner that I need them to. And that's when the old brain doesn't think of one thing at a time, does it? And I thought, if I just do that and do the leapfroggy thing, I've got the ability to make my increments in, hopefully, regular and repeatable amounts. 25mm increments, in fact. So I'm actually just going to, you can follow me out, come out and have a look at what the spacings are on these, what do they call them? Screens. So, well, that's 500 over and over. That's, so what thickness is that? Oh, I can see the problem there. Well, let's just say that I don't have to keep these increments. I can create the increments that I can on the saw, and that is what I wind up with. It would be better if I could go, let's just have a look at that again. That's saying 460 in and over, so that's, say, 460 to the center. That would be, I could make that 450, which is an increment that would be able to be achieved with the MFT style of top. The only other thing I could do is to make whatever pin that gets put on here adjustable. Is that necessary for when, like, that was 460, why not make it 450, 500? Yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense. Have to give that a bit of thought. The issue is a lot of the material I use, or the items I use, in this case this will be one, I'm sure, is 35 by 35. But there will be instances when I want to use materials that are of a different size, and I'm just wondering whether I can... You can see the dilemma. I tell you what, I'll zip my lip on that one for a wee bit and go and have a wee bit of a fiddle, see how easy it is or isn't to do, and if I can make something that's adjustable, it might be a good thing. Now I'm just thinking that we could use, like the threaded rod sort of approach, where you can register the parts with the, how the threaded rods can nest into each other. The very thing I've used for my Frankensaw rip fence over there works really, really well. That can be adjusted across in 2mm increments, and well, that's a good thing. Can we do a similar thing here using either 16mm or 6mm rods? Let them bed themselves into each other so that you can leapfrog them across and pin them into place, and you can fine tune it to whatever your heart's content or your job requires. Sounds reasonable? Achievable? Yeah, holding the 6mm in place might be a bit of an... Anyway, we will have a look at it. Oh, hang on, I just said... No. Oh, no. Hang on. Thoughts are coming to me. I think the comment before about zipping my lip might have been the right choice. But the adjustability also means I can replace the pins, not so that they move... Zipping lip going to be enacted. Rightio. It's whetted my appetite for this. I love making jigs, I love the outcome of what the jigs allow me to do, and makes your life easier in the workshop. So yeah, rightio, zipping lip and going away, and rest assured I will be back. Okay, we'll see you in the next one. Hopefully with something more positive to show. Right, bye now.